Yo, what's good, YTBC? What's good, fight fans, boxing heads around the world? B Marsh with another boxing video. So I'm back at it with another boxing video, man. I was sitting here contemplating, the man Julio Cesar Chavez, great fighter, man. In my opinion, the greatest fighter out of Mexico. You know what I mean? It's just my opinion. He's a guy who I actually saw fight. You know what I'm saying, and seen his greatness. You know what I mean? A guy I've known since I was a little kid, Julio Cesar Chavez. That name's synonymous. And I ain't talking about the Julio Cesar Chavez from California, you know what I mean? The guy who was a kind of activist. I'm talking about Julio Cesar Chavez, the boxer. You know what I mean? And Julio Cesar Chavez is a great fighter, man. You know what I mean? What is he? Six-time world champion, three different divisions, 130, 135. 140. He never got a title at 147, right? He lost to De La Hoya in the rematch. You know what I mean? Julio Cesar Chavez, like I said, great fighter, in my opinion, the greatest fighter out of Mexico. You know what I mean? But I got to ask everybody a question out there on the YTBC or whatever platform you listen to this YouTube boxing shit on. With the man Julio Cesar Chavez, what was his first loss? I believe he was like 89-0. He was trying to go 90-0 when he lost to Frankie Randall in 94, right? Controversial decision, by the way, you know what I mean? That fight was arguably Chavez won that fight, It was the first fight he ever hit the canvas too, you know what I mean? You check it, so a guy like Julio Cesar Chavez, I gotta ask the question. Would Julio Cesar Chavez even reach that plaque of even going 89-0 if it wasn't for this young man right here? You know what I'm saying? If Salvador Sanchez didn't die, God rest his soul, you know what I mean? If Salvador Sanchez didn't die, would Julio Cesar Chavez have reached that plateau of 89-0, trying to go 90-0? That's a fair question I gotta ask, man, because Salvador Sanchez. Some people, if you ask who are the greatest fighters from Mexico, man, some people include Salvador Sanchez, you know what I mean? Salvador Sanchez, great fighter, you know what I mean? Believe the guy was like 44-1, you know what I'm saying? He had only one loss, you know what I mean? What did he take the title? He had that WBC strap he beat, what's his name for? Little Red Lopez, Danny Little Red Lopez, you know what I'm saying? He actually beat Little Red Lopez twice, you know what I mean? You check it, then the man passed away, He passed away after he beat Azuma Nelson, you know what I'm saying? Azuma Nelson came to Madison Square Garden straight up from Ghana, straight from Africa. Came to fight this bad man called Salvador Sanchez, you know what I'm saying? But, Salvador Sanchez is a great fighter, man, you know what I'm saying? I've seen him in a few fights, man. The Little Red Lopez fight. I've seen the Azuma Nelson fight numerous times because the Professor Azuma Nelson is one of my favorite fighters of all time, you know what I mean? So I've seen that fight many times, and especially the grit and the determination from both fighters. The man Azuma Nelson was like 8-0. He had only 8 fights coming into that fight. He was actually a replacement, you know what I mean, for somebody that Salvador Sanchez was supposed to fight that night in MSG. But that particular fighter Sanchez was supposed to fight got injured, so my guy Azuma Nelson was a late replacement, man, and he put a valiant effort, you know what I mean? The only man to ever put Azuma Nelson down was Salvador Sanchez, and that was like when Azuma was a young man. I'm talking about like 1981 or 82, whenever Salvador Sanchez passed, because that was his last fight, you know what I mean? But I gotta ask the question: would Julio Cesar Chavez would he even be the greatest fighter from Mexico of all time? That's the question I gotta ask too. If Salvador Sanchez didn't pass away. Because Salvador Sanchez was a WBC champ, featherweight, lineal champ, and all that. You know what I'm saying? And I think he died in 82, okay? Like a few months after he beat up Azuma Nelson, you know what I mean? You check it. But with Salvador Sanchez, with Julio Cesar Chavez, I think he got his first title in 84. He fought for a vacant title, vacant super featherweight, 130. Mm-mm-mm. You check it. So with the man Azuma Nelson, I'm sorry, I'm bugging, man. I'm just seeing Azuma Nelson getting rocked right there, man, by Salvador Sanchez. You check it. This is when Salvador stopped Azuma. So would the man become would the man Julio Cesar Chavez go on all those undefeated, you know, go all the way to 89-0 before he took his first loss to Frankie Randall. You know what I'm saying? I believe that if Salvador Sanchez was still alive around that time period, I believe he would have won the fight. You know what I'm saying? I believe he would have won that fight, because Salvador Sanchez was a real good fighter. You know what I mean? Salvador Sanchez was taking no shorts. You know what I'm saying? You see what he did to Azuma Nelson. He knocked Azuma Nelson in the 15th round after Azuma Nelson gave him hell. You know what I'm saying? He gave him hell. You check it. You seen what Salvador Sanchez did to guys like Wilfredo Gomez, man. You want to see an ass whooping? If you thought Errol Spence didn't whoop Kell Brooks' ass, I don't know what you were watching. But if you want to see an ass whooping, go look at what Salvador Sanchez did to Wilfredo Gomez, who was coming up in weight, man. He fucked him up, man. He beat the shit out of him, man. Thorough beating in like 8 rounds, you know what I mean? They had to stop the fight, you know what I mean? Salvador Sanchez beat guys like Juan Laporte. Juan Laporte is a guy who fought everybody, you know what I mean? Juan Laporte is a real throwback fighter, fought everybody, and he was a former champion. You know what I'm saying? Who beat him? I believe who beat him? Shit. I know he lost to guys like Pedroza. He lost to a lot of guys, man. You know what I mean? But he lost to Wilfredo Gomez for his that 126 strap. You know what I mean? That Juan Laporte had. You check it, but the man Julio Cesar Chavez, in my opinion, he had some losses on his way up to 89-0. To me, he lost to guys like what's my guy's name? What's our guy's name, man? Don't do it, champ. He knocked the dude out, man. Andy's a pipehead, you know what I mean? He be beaming up to Scotty. What the fuck? Rocky Lockridge, you know what I mean? I thought Rocky Lockridge beat Julio Cesar Chavez in a fight out in Monaco in France, you know what I'm saying? Of course, I know that Pernell Whitaker, I don't think I know. He actually beat Julio Cesar Chavez, you know what I'm saying? So, those were some controversial decisions that the man Julio Cesar Chavez got. You check it, so those are fights right there that in my opinion, he lost on his way up to 89-0, and like I said, Julio Cesar Chavez got his first belt at 130, but Salvador Sanchez was at God 126. You know what I'm saying? Think of all the fighters Salvador Sanchez ain't fight. Guys like a unification with Eusebio Pedroza, a guy from Panama. You know what I mean? That would have been a great fight. I believe Pedroza had the WBA strap. You check it at featherweight, you know what I mean? You check it, a rematch with Azuma Nelson was inevitable, you know what I'm saying? Because you seen what Azuma Nelson did to Wilfred Benitez. Not Wilfred Benitez, sorry. Wilfredo Gomez, you know what I'm saying? You see what he did to Wilfredo Gomez in Puerto Rico, man. He fucked him up bad, you know what I mean? He beat the shit out of him. Salvador Sanchez was a guy who was a Don King fighter, you know what I'm saying? I believe the fight with Eusebio Pedroza was in the works before he passed away, you know what I mean? A fight between Eusebio Pedroza and Salvador Sanchez was going to happen, but he passed away. You check it. There's guys like, even a fight with like Alexis Arguello. That fight would have been possible too, you know what I mean, for a guy like Salvador Sanchez, you know what I mean? But at that time, I believe, the guy actually, he was actually bigger, At them times, Arguello was beating the shit out of Jim Watt. He beat Jim Watt, you know what I'm saying, for the 135-pound WBC or lineal title, if I'm not mistaken. I know there was a lineal title, So, I think the man Salvador Sanchez was a real good fighter, real good boxer, technically sound, you know what I'm saying? Julio Cesar Chavez was a great body puncher, relentless puncher, great guy cutting off the ring, you know what I'm saying? A guy who really tears that body out, beats the shit out of your body, lands precise punches, Julio Cesar Chavez is very underrated. I hate to hear people talk about, oh, Julio Cesar Chavez a bum. Look at all them fighters he fought. He fought a lot of nobodies. Okay, the man came from Mexico. He was probably in his 50s and O's and shit. You know what I'm saying? But look at all the work he did ever since he became a world champion. You know what I mean? 6-time world champion. Beat fellas like Edwin Rosario. Beat, what's his name? Juan Luis, Juan Ramirez, you know what I mean? The guy who got the dubious decision against Pernell Whitaker, you know what I'm saying? Meldrick Taylor was going to be the first man to beat him. I believe he was like 69-0 at that time, if it wasn't for the last 2 seconds. But you got to give all credit to Julio Cesar Chavez, how he came back in them championship rounds and beat the shit out of Meldrick Taylor. He was putting them hands on him. Look at them power punches this guy be dropping. You see what he did to Greg Haugen out there in Mexico City, you know. But, you know, as far as styles, Salvador Sanchez, you know, it tends to happen a lot, especially with guys who've passed away. You know, they get over romanticized, you know what I'm saying? You know, I can't call Salvador Sanchez the greatest Mexican fighter of all time because he didn't reach, unfortunately, he passed away and he didn't reach his ceiling, you know what I mean? He didn't peak. You know, he was a great fighter. He could have arguably been, you know what I'm saying? But we got to give fellas like Julio Cesar Chavez, Ruben Olivares, these type of guys, they credit too, you know what I mean? Carlos Zarate, because these guys actually had strong careers. Carlos Zarate was knocking out everybody, man. That motherfucker Carlos Zarate at one point in time had over 50 wins, and over 50 of those wins were by KO. You know what I'm saying? Just like Wilfredo Gomez, vicious KO artist, you know what I mean? But I believe Salvador Sanchez, you know, I mean, would he have beaten Julio Cesar Chavez? That's up to debate. It's subjective, you know what I'm saying? We could pick and choose. We could actually break it down, see who has the better attributes, you know what I'm saying? But you know, it's really hard to say, man. It would be really hard to call because, you know what I'm saying? Um, the guy Salvador Sanchez, I'm sorry, you know, Salvador Sanchez didn't live that long, you know what I mean? He passed away and Julio Cesar Chavez went on to have a great career, you know. But I believe if Salvador Sanchez was alive, I believe a fight between Salvador Sanchez and Julio Cesar Chavez was inevitable. Probably for that WBC strap that Julio Cesar Chavez won, you know what I mean? His first title. You check it at 130. I believe that fight right there, whoever that dude fought, the vacant dude, the opponent of Julio Cesar Chavez was, I believe that would have been Salvador Sanchez. And in my opinion, anything could have happened. And you know, that's why I had to make this video. I want to hear everybody's thoughts and comments and what they think would have happened. You think Salvador Sanchez would have beaten Julio Cesar Chavez? It's quite possible. It's quite possible because guys like I said, Rocky Lockridge, in my opinion, he beat um, Julio Cesar Chavez, you know what I mean? I know Pernell Whitaker did too, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, these guys, they ain't get the decision, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? So, you know, it's quite possible. If we've seen a guy lose and he went all the way to 89-0, and, you know, the guy Salvador Sanchez was an exciting fighter, you know, a crowd-pleasing fighter, but very technically sound, you know what I mean? You know, a real good boxer. You know, it's quite possible he would have beat him too, you know what I mean? But I would have loved to see a Eusebio Pedrosa versus Salvador Sanchez, you know what I mean, at 126. You check it, unification fight to see who's the real champ in the division, you know what I mean? That would have been an awesome fight, you know? You check it, you know, so that's just my thoughts and comments. You know, we'd also see Roger Mayweather versus a guy like Salvador Sanchez. I'm sure we would have seen that at 130. You know what I'm saying? You check it, you know, the man, Jose Luis Ramirez, that was going to definitely be a possible fight for Salvador Sanchez at 130. You know what I mean? Rafael Limon, all them guys. Oh my gosh, think about a fight with Salvador Sanchez and all them WBC champs fellas like Rafael Limon and at 130. What's my guy's name? Hector Camacho, Cornelius Boza Edwards, you know what I'm saying? And even Bobby Chacon, you know what I mean? You check it. So you know, or Salvador Sanchez versus Rocky Lockridge. You know what I'm saying? There was so many fights that we would have seen the man Salvador Sanchez in, man, you know. He was a great fighter. So unfortunately, he passed away so young, man. He was very young with numerous fights, 44 victories, one loss, you know what I mean? So y'all, leave your thoughts and comments in the comments section, man, and let me know what y'all think about if Salvador Sanchez did not pass away. That's the question I'm asking. If he ain't pass away, you think this man Julio Cesar Chavez would have even reached 89-0, even 59-0? Would he have? Leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section, and I'm gonna catch you on the next vid. Be Marsh Box, and I'm out. Peace.